He has managed over $200 million in Google Ads. Marketing veteran with more than 14 years hands-on experience from building in-house teams to consulting many Silicon Valley-based companies. He believes the only way to outsmart your PPC competitors is to execute more of the right ideas. A warm welcome to the co-founder and CEO of LeanSEM, Nenad Molerovich.
Hello. Dobar den, Skopje. Nenad is exactly the name of how my American friends call me, so thank you for that. So I'm going to be talking today about a challenging topic, so please bear with me. I have a lot of things to say in a very short time, and I will have a lot of time for questions later on, so please feel free. I'm going to try to wrap it up in 15 minutes, no longer than 20 minutes, so just bear with me. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Nenad. I'm born and raised in Skopje. I fell in love with digital marketing in 2005. What I really love about digital marketing is that it's a perfect blend of creativity and analytical, as I'm sure most of you guys love digital marketing for the same reason. I basically worked in California, where I actually met my wife. In 2008, I convinced her to marry me. And I sold her on the Macedonian dream that, hey, you should come back to Macedonia. It's really great. We're going to do nothing and live like kings. Right? So shortly after, we had our first kid over here. And shortly after, we decided to move back for family reasons, personal reasons. We moved back to Silicon Valley. And my career took off. So I started working as a specialist. And I worked my way up all the way to becoming a director of digital marketing at Upwork. So I had the privilege to work with one of the smartest people in the world, and I also, in the same time, worked with a lot of agencies. What I really found about the agency, and I'm talking about one of the best agencies in the world, which are best agency. They're located in Silicon Valley, so they claim they're the best agencies in the world. But what I really saw working with them, I wasn't really impressed. So what I wanted to do is found a different kind of agency. Basically, I was building teams in Upwork. I was building the whole process, hiring people, coaching them from the ground up. I wanted to replicate that same process in an in-house-like agency. So many of the great companies out there can get what they deserve from their marketing efforts, because we're going to be talking about PPC, Google primarily. They're spending significantly on all of these platforms. So they do deserve the right attention, the right know-how, the right approach before anything. So I founded LeanSEM on the basis of these two beliefs. The first belief is that we're all created equal as people, but opportunities are not. So I had the opportunity working in Silicon Valley, and I took that opportunity and I grow as fast as possible. So I really wanted to bring those opportunities back to Macedonia, where I'm sure, as I said, people are all created equal. They just don't have access to the right opportunity. But my hope was that given the right opportunity, the people will bloom. Okay? So the whole point is we want to help great companies win. And I'll explain a little bit about what that means. But these are all the companies that we work for in the last close to 5 years. The latest company that we just signed is Udacity, as you guys probably have heard about them. They are a really big client. As you can see, we don't have hundreds of clients. We just have a very few of clients that we really over-deliver every week. So many of them spend north of 6 figures per month. So their need is more of a scientific need. They don't ask, should I use Google? Is Facebook right for me? They ask, get me traffic from everywhere. I need to grow. I need to scale. I have investors. I have everybody are counting on me to grow. So these are some stats. Basically, we're still working with 50% of the companies that we actually signed for. So that's a sign that they are actually seeing quality in working with us. My original idea was to basically disturb the need for people to hire in-house PPC people, for companies to hire in-house PPC people. So one of the greatest thing that I'm actually very proud of is that many of these companies that were working with us, after some time, they either decided to take things in-house or they decided to take it to a larger agency that has a lot more offering. 20% of them actually came back very shortly after. So that's a great testament of the service we're actually doing. And 95%, or our NPS score, is they're all raving fans. They talk about us, they recommend us. And that's exactly why we don't have a sales department. All the work we're getting and all these great companies that we are getting is purely based on word of mouth. The reason is very simple. We get results or insights for them, right? If a company, so there are companies that are coming to us and having these crazy goals, we need to grow 20x without really knowing what does it need for them to actually achieve that growth. So if a company is not willing to grow, I mean, it's not able to grow for whatever reason, we as marketers have the responsibility to tell them that as soon as possible and prove it with data, right? We need to tell them what is the next step for them to grow or pivot. There is nothing else in between. Okay, so the main question our clients ask from us is, this is something along how it goes. They say, hey, we have this great budget, we want to go 5x. How can we do that? And I'll try to explain how we're going to do that. So I think at the bottom line, and I think most of the speakers before already touched on that, about the change and about how everything is changing or it's not changing as fast as possible. But I think it comes down to the mindset, because the platforms are just tools, right? You can learn where the buttons are, what to push, but the mindset is really what makes the difference between an average and world class. So the mindset, I think Alex mentioned the pirate mentality. I would say it's pretty much, very much alike, very much similar. You need to be a truth seeker, and the truth you will never know fully, but you need to constantly try to understand what the truth is. So imagine a world where you actually know everything about your user, Google, Facebook, whatever platform is that you use, your goals, where do you want to be. In that case, everything that your client asks from you, you're going to be able to deliver it with a push of a button. So what you need to do is literally deconstruct that way and install those buttons for every client separately, because they're all very different. They all have very different needs. Or be a pirate, right? Like, that's a great analogy. Figure out the rules, find the rules, break them, create new ones, and restart the process, because things will change. So how things will change, I'll tell you through my own personal example, and I'll share my story about my biggest mistake, which I'm not very proud of, but I think it's great for you guys to know it. So the time was 2013. Anyone here worked in PPC or worked with Google in 2013? Okay, few people. So if you might remember, back then, if you really knew what you were doing, manual structures and bidding is the way to go. There was a popular thinking that Google just cannot beat you if you really know what you're doing. Okay, so being new in 2013, I just got the role of a director of Upwork. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a dent. I wanted to shake things up. I wanted to make a bold move. So what I did before I was with Upwork, I was using these manual campaigns, right? For people, I believe everybody knows what manual or automatic bidding is. One, manual, it says in the name, you're basically controlling what you're getting from Google, how you're manipulating. With the automatic stuff, you're letting go of that control. So while I was working for LendingTree and these other companies, I made huge success with just manual, literally just restructuring everything on manual, properly structuring it, learning what's happening. And when I get to Elance back in that time, basically what I was seeing, top of the line, long story short, I was seeing significantly more clicks because of the restructure. So that was the good sign. Lower CPC, lower cost per click. But at the same time, conversions fall off a cliff. They were just not there. So I was tweaking the whole thing for maybe half a year. And then half a year later, I was director of online marketing I started with Elance, then we merged with Odesk. I assume, guys, you remember Elance, Odesk? And they became Upwork. So it was a merger of equals, and Odesk was my biggest competitor. So once we merged, I was able to actually see the campaigns, and I was able to see that they're also running automatic bidding. They have significantly less click volume, higher cost per clicks, but they had significantly more conversions. And I was talking with the Google team, we had countless of meetings, and at the end of the discussion went like this. It's a black box, it's super smart, we don't know really what's happening. So long story short, what we had to do because of the business goals, we had to switch over. What I learned is that I should never rely on what I knew it worked. I should always be able to retest stuff, right? So in the ideal case scenario, you have to stay dynamic because the change doesn't happen until it does, and it's overnight. So in an ideal world, what you really want to create is you want to create a system that learns. You don't want to be the smart guy. You don't want to know what kind of message works. You need to find a system or build that system that will tell you with confident data that you're right or you're not right. In either case, it's a learning. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit technical here, not too much, but just on a high level, how do you actually create that system? I'm going to repeat this slide again, but this is what you want to come out with. You want to be able to have a faucet or a button for everything that you're buying. Now, Google is taking more of the control, yes, but you still have these buttons. You can still segment the traffic. You can still experiment. If you have this system, it's not up to you and how smart you are, right? You have a system that is going to deliver you the insights if you are doing proper experiments. So when your client says, hey, I need to scale up, you know which buttons to push and what's going to be the outcome. So you can forecast what the outcome will be. What usually happens, and I have to stay over here a little bit, what usually happens is most of the marketers out there, they do know the platforms, they do know which buttons to click, right? But their approach is not very thoroughly. It's not very thorough. They haven't really thought through all of these different variables that can actually have a meaningful impact. So what they do is they just launch keywords and they hope and pray. That's pretty much how most of us are doing PPC outside. Regardless if it's Google, Facebook, that's the reality. So how do you actually get to that system? First things first, right? You need to be super organized. This whole industry is not for people who lack organizational skills. You need to have all of these details that are flying everywhere in one place so you can build your hypothesis. Like, who is my user? Why do they click? Why do they buy from my competitor? You want to know all of that. You want to build your hypothesis around it because you want to test it and find where the opportunities are. So you're building your hypothesis to get to a confident opportunity. Confident through the data. You cannot guess it. You have to prove it. Okay, so first things first, what do you want to test? You want to test the actual structure. As I mentioned in the example, there will be a huge difference whether you run manual or automatic. So is it manual that works better for you? Is it automatic that works better for you? If you have a huge company, you invest a lot of money, you're probably going to end up with some hybrid approach. So for example, we're using manual campaigns or manual bidding whenever we want to prove with confidence what kind of ad is working or messaging. If we're working for a large client, they want to reposition, or we have an insight on how they can be better or how they can communicate better, we're using manual so we can see what the engagement is, and we're going to decide what message works. So it's not Google, it's us. Because those kind of insights can inform the whole company. You can translate all of those insights across all of your marketing materials. The second thing is the actual targeting. I'm going to take a quick example for keywords. So let's say you're a pizza delivery shop. The way we internally organize them is we have priority 1 keywords, priority 2 keywords, and we have sidekick keywords. Priority 1 in this particular example is if somebody is searching for pizza delivery. Priority 2 would be if someone is searching for food delivery. We don't know if it's pizza. So that performance will be different. If somebody is searching for pizza, the conversion rate of those people will be significantly higher. The clicks will cost significantly more as well, right? But at the end, you want clients. Who cares about the cost of click? And at the end, you have sidekick. So somebody is typing food, pizza recipes. That's potentially a client. We don't know if it's a client, but maybe we're going to persuade them to change their mind and become a client. The next big thing you want to experiment. So these are all experiments that are going on an ongoing basis. They never stop. They never stop. It's a truth-seeking process. So again, you want to build your hypothesis around each keyword intent or user persona, depending if it's keywords, interest, audiences, Facebook, whatever it is. But in the previous example, so if it's a priority 1 keyword where you have pizza delivery, you want to experiment, is it pizza delivery, is it the speed component of pizza delivery that will make your user click? Is it the discount you have? Is it the best pizza that you offer? In the priority 2, you want to experiment more with like, why any food? Order pizza, right? Because they're looking for food, order food. In the third example of people actually typing pizza recipes, you want to tell them, forget cooking. It will get messy. Just order it. You want to continue experimenting and understanding what the user actually click. So one thing about the user, right? You don't want to just have basic demographics, psychographics. You really want to get into the position where the user is actually using, whether it's a mobile phone or a computer, to order your product or service. And you want to understand more of their emotional needs because that's what's going to make them make an action. That's what you want. And then everybody is saying test, analyze, but what to test and what to analyze? So I quickly kind of touched on what to test, but what you want to really analyze is how the system behaves when you introduce a change. What is it doing? Is it giving you more clicks, but they're not worth it to you in any way? You want to understand that, and that will inform later on all of the hypotheses you're going to be building. And again, if you do all of this right, you're going to end up with a faucet system. With here is my traffic, here is my most valuable traffic, here is my less valuable traffic, and if I really need to scale up, I'm going to turn this on as well, although it doesn't really perform that much. But the client goals can change, so you need to be prepared. Okay, so this is the technical part. I just want to briefly touch on the future of Google Ads, and this section was something that I was struggling a lot because, I'm going to be honest, I don't know everything. I don't know what's really going to happen. I'm going to learn, because I have a system, how to properly experiment all of that. But talking about reality, without getting into all the conspiracy theories, this is the Google or Alphabet revenues earning. So this is year over year. So what's the most important thing about one business? Predictability. It is predictability. Can you really predict what's going to happen? So Google, being a great company, they know that in order for them to keep growing, 90% of their revenue coming from Google Ads, they need to have a control of the pricing. It's going to get complicated here. So what's up with Google? They're taking away the control so they can level the playing field. Instead of experts such as myself who are thinking data, users, hypothesis 24/7, they want to say, hey, any one of you can do it. Because there will be more competition, the prices will go up. So Google is pitching, since they started with Google Ads or Google AdWords, they're pitching this concept of smart pricing. So long story short, what that means is that they're telling you, hey, you're on a free market, and then what that means is that you're gonna pay only as much as the competitor below you is pushing you, right? But if we go to an automatic bidding, where Google is actually delivering the clients, then it's not about clicks anymore. It's about clients. So my personal opinion is that Google is moving in that direction. I think that eventually they want to build a platform where they can go directly straight to the advertiser and be like, how much budget do you have and what do you want? I think we're far away from that, but I think that's something that as an end goal, if I was in the Google leadership team, would probably want. So most of these things, I don't know where they're going to end up. I just don't know. For now, I know that Google is not really communicating as good as they should about whether this whole quality score, smart pricing, ad rank concept really works anymore. Okay, so it is what it is, right? Automatic bidding is here to stay. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, as I already mentioned, they happened to me in 2013. So that already happened, the artificial intelligence, in some industries, right? Don't get me wrong. There are industries where you just still, manual bidding is dominating. But there are industries where you just cannot play with that. So you just don't have an option to have all the controls you used to have. So in an AI world, and this, I basically took this example from a book called AI in the Digital World. I strongly suggest you guys read it if you're interested in where this whole thing is going. But, you know, machines think in a linear way. We, as humans, don't think in a linear way. So I don't think, at least in the next 5 years, as much as I can see, that we're going to become obsolete in Google's eyes. I think still there will be, at least in the next 5 years, need for thinkers, for truth seekers. So in a way, what you need to be in an AI world is you need to be 3 roles. You need to be a doctor, a pilot, and a teacher. And I'll explain that very simply. So a doctor is like, you go to the machine, you understand where the problem is. You need to diagnose it. The machine cannot self-diagnose itself. If you're a pilot, right, the pilot doesn't really fly the plane anymore. 99% of the time, they don't do anything. It's the machine who does that for them. But hey, flock of birds comes to your engines, you need to override it. So you need to still have the pulse of the machine. And then you're a teacher at the end, because that machine, thinking linearly, needs data, big data, so they can actually make the correlation better than we as humans can. So you need to teach the machine what to optimize on. And I like this image. It's because there is a funny quote over there. It says, the man who rolls his shirt sleeves is rarely in danger of losing his shirt. But long story short, it's really about hard work. All of this stuff that we're doing, it's not something that, you know, we just push some buttons and we just turn around and we're like, yeah, we did exactly what the client wants. You need to go back the first hour, the next day, the following day, to really understand and analyze how the system reacted. So I'm going to put this simply, and I want this to be a reality check. But if you really think about it, if you're in the same industry, you are competing. This is a competitive sport, right? Who will know more? A person who just runs 2 experiments or 12? I'm talking about meaningful experiments. I'm not talking about you change the CTA from buy now to learn more. That's not very meaningful. But this is where the hard work comes into place. You need to really be thinking about all of these variables, create the meaningful hypothesis so you can have meaningful experiments and meaningful insights. That's it.